All right, guys, welcome back into another NFL DFS video. My name's Eric Paulzine, going to be breaking down the Saturday main slate. So we got a big 6-game slate here, which it's kind of nice because we're not just like forcing in plays. We can actually kind of make some plays that we want to do. And honestly, that's probably something I should have done last week on the main slate, is that I try to force in stacks that I didn't exactly need to, or if I would have just picked and choose the top plays from like each spot, it would have been much better off. Now, obviously, doing stacks are going to be great if they hit. So, we'll still be doing that, but that was just kind of something I learned. But yeah, we're going to be breaking down this game by game, highlighting the top positional players as they come. The write-up for this is also going to be available in the comment section below, so if you guys want to, you can check that out as well. If you guys enjoy this, give us a like. That helps out a lot. Also, if you're not subscribed, make sure to do that as well. We're going to be covering this stuff the whole fantasy football season, so you might as well get it in now. All right, let's get into the picks. So starting off with the Bears game here, the Bears versus the Browns. Now, the Browns and the Bears are both going to be playing their starters, but the Browns are a little bit more difficult to figure out. The Bears, it is kind of nice. Like, you could play a little bit of Justin Fields. Obviously, getting a full half of football, he does scramble the ball a decent amount. He could be interesting. Now, the first team offense did look pretty poor last week. I expect them to be a little bit better this week. So he is someone that I certainly think is going to be in play, but someone I would more or less just want to stack with for this game, and I'll touch on some of those players here as well. So one thing we have to figure out is whether or not David Montgomery, I call him DM, if he's going to play. We got to figure out if Khalil Herbert is going to play. We got to figure out if Trestan Ebner is going to play. I think the one player that is guaranteed to not play is going to be Ebner. So even still, Darrington Evans, I like a lot, regardless of if Montgomery or Herbert sit. Now, if they both sit, that's great. I love Evans a little bit more. He'd be someone that I lock in. Game flow wise, he should play a decent amount in the second half. He's someone that can get used in the passing game a lot. Had a really strong game last week as well. He is just someone I like kind of through and through. And I do want to kind of mention like Tuggle here as well. Tuggle has looked really good on film as well, except for when he hasn't. And what I mean by that is he's caused like 2 fumbles, one on special teams and one on offense. So he's probably going to get cut, but he has looked good as a runner, as an NFL runner. He's just made some kind of mental mistakes. So, these two are going to firmly be in play for us on this slate, and they should pop. Honestly, all the Bears running backs, except for really Khalil Herbert, and he's looked fine, but they've all looked pretty solid. Okay, so all of them are going to be decent plays. I don't know if, we got to wait on the injury news, obviously. So right now, I kind of like Darrington Evans in this game. If we're trying to do a game stack, I'll set up for you guys. So looking at it from there, I do like Darnell Mooney. If he's going to be playing a full half of football, he's probably going to get around 4 targets. It's just whether or not what does he do with those targets, okay? I like him a lot as a player, and personally, I hope he doesn't go off. I really don't want him to. So I'm going to run out this stack, but he is someone I'm targeting a lot in DFS week 1. He's someone I'm targeting a lot in fantasy football drafts and best ball drafts. Like, please do not go off, because that's going to raise his ownership up in week 1, and that's going to raise up his ADP in drafts. I don't want that. I already have a lot of him in best ball drafts, and in DFS. So like, it's not going to benefit at all if his ADP and ownership starts to go up. So I'm hoping he doesn't have a good game, but he probably will because he's a stud. From there, I like Simba Webster. Simba Webster looked really good. He popped, and some of it was due to special teams plays, but he was someone that really just stood out to me film-wise, made the most of the opportunities that he got while he was on the field. So just someone I think, could pop. Yeah, playing time should be there. He only had 4 catches for 25 yards, but it was just like on those plays, you could tell he was running hard, and it was kind of smooth with it. Kind of just looked like an NFL receiver. So maybe someone that more or less is productive in the second half of this game, but also someone that I think will be productive in this game. We can see all those injuries there for this team. Like, he should be locked into playing a decent amount. From there, I actually don't mind Cole Kmet as well. Like, if we are going to be playing the Bears starters in a stack, which I kind of think is the route that you'd want to go if you are playing the Bears, and you can do that kind of using the 9-to-5 lineup optimizer available for PGA members. I've touched on that a lot. If you guys have watched the videos, you kind of get that approach right now. It's going to be a 9-to-5 membership starting next week. But right now, the 9-to-5 lineup optimizer is available for PGA DFS members, which is currently the only membership available on the website. So that's my long way of saying, like, I will be running out a field stack. So lineups that include Fields will also have some of Cole Kmet, some of Darnell Mooney, some of Evans, and then some of Webster. Cole Kmet playing a full half, probably going to get a few catches. Obviously, we don't want a 0 at the tight end spot. That's really my goal each and every week in preseason DFS with tight end plays, and I just don't think we're going to get a 0 out of him. From there, moving on to the Browns. Now, the Browns are a little bit more difficult to figure out playing time-wise, so honestly, it kind of sucks. They're kind of just a stay away, really, and that's unfortunate because I do think, I really like their running backs here. Jerome Ford looked good. Kelly looked good last week. They got depth at running back. Honestly, like these two teams have been pretty impressive with their depth at running back. Receiver-wise, Javon Wims made a really nice catch on the sideline last week. Like, that's kind of who he is as a player. He's like an athlete, can go out and make catches, but sure, I don't mind him, but like I'm not going out of my way to play him. The only way I'd play him is in like a game stack. So very difficult to play like anyone from the Browns, like really be gung-ho about a play from the Browns. And that's kind of all like you want to go within, preseason DFS, but really a 6-game slate. It's not like, oh, this could happen. And that's kind of all the plays for the Cleveland Browns. So we're going to move on into the next game. We're going to look at the Eagles versus the Dolphins. So looking at the Eagles, Jalen Hurts not expected to play. We don't know how the allocation of playing time is going to get moved around for the quarterback, so I'm kind of just staying away from them. At the running back spot, I actually kind of like Kenneth Gainwell, okay? And this is interesting because Boston Scott got the start last week. And he looked good, but so did Kenneth Gainwell. But the thing with Kenneth Gainwell playing second string to Boston Scott, it kind of tells me that he might have something left to prove, whereas Boston Scott has kind of earned that number one running back role. And maybe that tells us that if Miles Sanders goes out, that Boston Scott would be that player to step into the Sanders role. I think Gainwell's role is kind of cemented, if that makes sense. And that might be a good thing for people in best ball drafts. I don't know. Like, he might just be all right, we're inside the 20, get in there guy. But I think he's going to play a decent amount. This team last week rushed the ball 43 times, and they only passed the ball 26 times. I mean, that is a ton. That's a big difference, okay? So, like, even Kenneth Gainwell's in play. I think Boston Scott could be in play. Jason Huntley is firmly going to be in play as well. I didn't really like what I saw from Kennedy Brooks, so I probably wouldn't play him, but you could play Kenneth Gainwell and maybe even Jason Huntley if you want. Jason Huntley looked kind of just like a guy, though. Receiver-wise, Deion Kane stuck out. You had Devin Allen making it big, long play touchdown. It was a 55-yard touchdown, which is really what he is as a play. Like, it's literally, you're just hoping to get that touchdown. Whereas like Deion Kane at least looked good, but still nothing that I'm really going crazy with there. So moving on into the Miami Dolphins. All right, so we still are waiting on some news here. Okay, Tua, is he going to play? We don't know yet. Teddy Bridgewater, is he going to play? I don't know yet, but I do think we can expect Skylar Thompson to play a full half in this one. And obviously, if he does, that's going to be highly appealing. There's a chance that he could play more, like week 1 in the preseason. I kind of think it's going to be more like week 1 for the Miami Dolphins based on what I've read than it was in week 2. Okay, so a lot more of the backups are going to play. So Skylar Thompson, he's going to kick off what I think could be a nice, solid little stacking possibility. I will say, Salava Ahmed here looked good. He looked good last week, finally. Someone finally looked good running back-wise for the Finns. But receiver-wise, EK, Eric, Easy. I had it down. You hear this a couple of times, and it's tough to spit it out when you're going through all these names, but I call him Easy on the write-up, okay? He looked good on film. He had a nice little fade back shoulder catch that he ended up kind of having one arm tied up and then catching it with the other arm and then it was a nice catch. It like really stood out to me on film. You talk about the Kendrick Pryor, like week 1. Easy had a really good week 2 there. And he is someone that has been standing out in camp. They've been talking about him a lot. The thing that I like about him as well is like when Thompson got in the game, he was targeting him a lot. Another player that has been getting hype out of camp is Braylon Sanders. And he also was very productive as well in this game. There are 2 players that week 1 I thought would be great plays because of all the hype that they're getting out of camp. And then week 2 came and they actually were productive and had a good game. So that's a stack that I can usually go back to the well with in this game. And I think it can be a solid little starting stack there for us with the early games at least too. All right, now moving on to the Washington game. Nothing that I love just yet. Like Sam Howell, it'll probably be the same case as like Skylar Thompson. We're most likely going to play at least a full half of football because Carson Wentz, you kind of know what you have in him. Same thing with Taylor Heineke. You know what you have in them. So probably a quarter each for those guys. And then Sam Howell going to be playing like a full half of football. That's what I see happening. Running back wise, it is weird. I could see Antonio Gibson and Brian Robinson both still playing in this one and both getting like around 8 carries. That could easily happen. I hope it doesn't. And then from there, it's like Patterson we know we like, but it's just tough to figure out what exactly the playing time is going to be like for these running backs. And really this whole squad, like none of them really have stood out, and they've just been spreading the wealth a lot. Okay. And that's going to be the case with like the Vikings later on in this video as well. Sometimes you just kind of, yes, is the player going to score? Of course. It's just tougher to nail down which player that's going to be. And that's kind of some of these games that we have. Now for the Ravens, no, it's the exact opposite. We know exactly. Well, sorry. For Washington, Rodgers firmly in play once again, tight end wise. Had a good week 1 in preseason. Lackluster week 2, like 1 catch, 12 yards, like 2.2 DK points. Wasn't a 0. And I think the likelihood of him getting a 0 is very little. But we're going to touch on Isaiah Likely, who was probably maybe my best call of the preseason thus far. And it sucks that he came on a 2-game slate. He was kind of like the obvious tight end play last week. Ended up just dominating, be one of the most productive players in last week, fantasy football wise in general, or DFS wise in general. So he had 8 targets, caught all of them for 100 yards, and also added a TD. He looked really good. So yeah, if you're playing a tight end, you probably want to look at Likely again, but he's going to be pretty high owned. And that's kind of the problem with him as a play. Baltimore wise, Lamar Jackson's going to sit, which means we can fire up Tyler Huntley and Anthony Brown a decent amount. Like these two players are exactly the same. They both look good. The problem with them is Brown threw the ball 13 times, had 2 TDs, which was great. Also had an INT, whatever. And Huntley threw the ball 14 times. Like they just didn't throw the ball enough. So are they going to be that efficient once again? Chances are no, but hopefully they can. I guess part of the reason why they only threw that much is because they were efficient as well. So kind of goes hand in hand. You would want to see some more passing attempts. I like them both as plays. They should both be solid. And I don't know if you exactly need to stack them. Like you can, but maybe just go Likely instead of like going Polk. Polk was upsetting last week because he should have had a TD. He fell down on a play that should have been a TD. That was his lone target of the game. He's someone that really stood out week 1. He could easily have a bounce back game in this one, as well as Bridges. Running back wise, though, one of my favorite running back plays on the slate is going to be Tyler Batty because, well, it's kind of like Britton Brown last week or yesterday, where we kind of figured it out. These teams do have some tendencies, and sometimes it's just trying to figure out which player it's going to be. The Ravens, the Raiders, well, Josh McDaniels, they like to kind of run the ball a lot in the preseason and kind of run down one player, like a practice squad player, pretty much. We know J.K. Dobbins is out. We know Gus Edwards is out. Mike Davis, most likely going to be the week 1 starter. And then Justice Hill. Justice Hill could play, and he could be a decent play, but it's most likely going to be Justice Hill and also Batty getting a lot of work in this one. Okay, Nate McQuarrie, he got injured last week in the game, and we haven't heard any news from him just yet. And if you guys like are following the Baltimore Ravens and have heard news about him, please let me know in the comment section below, because this is huge. Because if he is active, sure, these plays are not as good. But if he is not active, then Batty just almost, I don't want to say he's like a lock, but he is going to be a strong play. The touches should be there for him, should get around 10 touches, which we just need him to score. Like, I really like that play if we can go that route. All right, so now moving on to the next game, the Cardinals. It does seem like Trace McSorley is going to be playing the most again. Now, he had a strange game. Like, he didn't look bad on film. Threw the ball 34 times, though. Only completed a minimal amount of those, okay? He struggled. He had 0 TDs, 2 INTs, but did have 229 yards and also did rush for a QB sneak. He got a lot of playing time. The chances are he's going to get a lot of playing time once again in this one. He's someone I don't mind. Like, we could easily roll with him as a quarterback play. And you can easily stack him. And that's the real nice thing about him as a play. It's like we've already played Greg Dortch a lot this preseason, and I see no reason why we don't or shouldn't keep playing him once again this preseason. And same thing with Andy Isabella. Both of them have been highly targeted. Like, this offense has really just looked like a poor man's version of its offense for the regular season. Like, nothing's really changed. A lot of short, quick routes, a lot of players getting fed pretty much. And so I do expect Isabella and Dortch to be those beneficiaries once again in this one. They should play a decent amount once again in this one. So I like those guys a lot. And real quickly, guys, like, I still haven't been able to nail down like a strong defensive play. I'm kind of leaning towards the Bears. Brissett hasn't exactly looked good. The Bears defense has looked good this preseason thus far, and especially like their backups. I don't love that. So if you guys have like the Baltimore Ravens as well, I do like defensively. Obviously, that team just really produces week in and week out for the preseason. So like those would be kind of the two defenses I'm looking at right now. If you guys have a better indication of potential defensive plays, put them in the comment section below. We're all trying to help each other out here, all trying to help each other have a strong DFS day. So we get into the Titans situation, and we don't exactly know what's going to happen just yet. It does seem like Ryan Tannehill has the possibility to play in this one, and he probably needs to just because he's been banged up a little bit, hasn't been able to play in the preseason. Maybe he plays like a series or two, and it does kind of seem like Logan Woodside and Willis are in a little bit of a QB battle, but it does seem like Woodside could be cut. We will see, though. It could end up being a little bit like the Packers situation with Jordan Love when he was a rookie, where Tim Boyle was the backup, but you kind of knew if Ryan Tannehill in this situation or if Rodgers were to have gotten injured, it most likely would have been the rookie, but they kind of just wanted to develop Willis a little bit more, get him a little bit more, I guess, mature and acclimated. Like, I could see that happening, but Willis has definitely played better than expected. And if he gets a full half of football once again in this one, he's going to run the ball a lot, and he has a chance to score like he did last week. He hasn't looked bad. If we get information that, Malik Willis is actually going to play 3/4 of this game, then, kind of just a core play. So, we're still waiting on that news. We have to wait and see. The problem with that is I really love Hassan Haskins. He's looked really good. And Julius Chestnut. Julius Chestnut has been a sneaky little find. Like, these guys have both looked good. They both had 2 receptions last week. They both had 35 or so rushing yards. Both had 10 rushing attempts. Like, they both look really good. So, like, maybe you just want to mix and match one of these guys in there. Like, they both look good, and I both expect them to get fed a decent amount in this one as well. I do kind of think that Kyle Phillips, the rookie who's been getting a ton of hype out of camp, will finally produce in this one. Watching the film over, he was open a bunch on his routes, but he was only targeted 4 times, and he only had 1 like really catchable pass. So Kyle Phillips, I do like a decent amount in this one, especially if we can stack him with Willis. Like, I would like that even more than. All right, moving on to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The unfortunate thing is, like, the starters are going to play in this one, so it makes every play much harder. Like, it's kind of just a stay away. I do expect Tom Brady to, like, go down, drive, score, whether that's a field goal or a rushing touchdown or a passing touchdown. Like, I kind of expect that. He's done that in past preseasons, but it's just, like, you don't know really where to go when you got a bunch of quarterbacks, a decent amount of running backs. Kind of. I mean, Fournette probably going to play 3 series. White and Vaughn probably going to play. They're going to play a decent amount. I guess I don't mind Vaughn. I don't mind White. I just like some other running back plays better on this slate, I guess. Like, let's say if you were someone that were to max enter, then they become in play. Like, then you could put like 10% ownership to them individually. If you guys are someone that is doing limited lineups, I don't see myself playing them then. Receiver-wise, maybe Tyler Johnson. Like, I don't love it. Tight end-wise, nothing I love too much. Going with the Colts. Now, the Colts, I wish they would tell us, all right, Sam Ehlinger and Jack Cohen, they're going for a QB battle. Sam Ehlinger has looked really good. He's been really just one of the biggest surprises of the preseason thus far. Only 11 passing attempts last week, but only 2 touchdowns. Like, he just didn't need to throw the ball that much. And the thing with him is, it's not like fluky. He looks sharp doing it. You can tell he's like, the moment's not too big for him. So he has looked good. I wish it's annoying because, like, if we knew that he was going to get playing time last week, like a decent amount of playing time, we would have played him. But he didn't get a lot of playing time, and he made the most out of it. Like, that's where it's annoying. Highly efficient there. Running backs, I'm staying away from, although JT and Hines, they're going to be out in this one. So, if you want to go Lindsey, you could. I don't really see the point in that. Patman and Mike here, those would be the 2 receivers I would go with in this game. Once again, that kind of feels like I'm forcing it. No need to, like, go out of your way to play them. Then get into the Vikings, kind of more the same. Like, I just kind of feel like I'm forcing them. Let's see. Kirk Cousins is not expected to play in this one, but they did just trade for Nick Mullins. What that means quarterback-wise, I don't really know. The one running back that I do like would be Ty Chandler, but the problem with the Vikings is they have been spreading the love a lot. A lot of players have been getting reps. Targets are dispersed. Rushing attempts are dispersed. So you can't really go in on anyone. Ty Chandler has looked very impressive. Last week, he had a touchdown. Only 5 carries for 20 yards. We want to see more rushing attempts. We want to see more playing time to really go in on a play. And maybe he just didn't get as much work last week because he had been coming back from an injury. Maybe. And that's kind of the reason why I could see him being an okay running back play. Like, I kind of have him as a low exposure play right now. Receiver-wise, like BC Johnson could be a play. Tristan Jackson, I don't mind. He's kind of the same player as Javon Wims, it seems like, where talent's there. Maybe up here it's not. And then getting to Denver, unfortunately more of the same, although I do like Josh Johnson and Brett Rippon. So Josh Johnson came and started last week. It was the same thing, except for Josh Johnson started and played the first half, really struggled, and then Brett Rippon came in and played really well. The thing with it is they are going to be going against backups. The Viking starters are not expected to play in this one, so you got both of them going against backups, which is huge, obviously. Josh Johnson is going to be going against players that probably won't be NFL players. So, like, if I had to choose between these two, it probably would be Josh Johnson, who had one good game and one terrible game. So, we're picking and choosing there. It's a guessing game. The problem with them is it's tough to stack them. And also, like, I would much rather just play Tyler Huntley, Anthony Brown, Skylar Thompson, Justin Fields, or Sam Howell. Like, they're kind of just the next best. And maybe that's why you do roster them, because they're going to be low owned, especially after a bad game. Like, Josh Johnson could be a low owned gem on the slate. And I don't really trust it, but you could see that happening. Like, the path to that happening is not too crazy. It could easily happen. Mike Boone's really the only running back play that I like for the Denver Broncos, and that's because Javonte Williams, not expected to play. Melvin Gordon, not expected to play. Jaquan Hardy, kind of just recently signed. That was about 17 days ago now. They cut Stevie Scott Stevie. There's so many names that I go through the preseason, guys. It's let me check the write-up here because I know I listed it there. Stevie Scott, the third. He was cut. So they brought in Devin Azigbo, the former Falcons running back, last week. So that kind of tells me that, okay, these guys are just players that they brought in for the preseason to get looks at them, see if they could sign them to the practice squad, which, hey, they could end up playing a decent amount. But that kind of tells me that this should somewhat be the Mike Boone show. Like, he should play about a half of football in this one. Whether that means he gets, 12 touches or 5 touches, that's a guessing game. And that's not as secure as some of the other running back plays that I like. Once again, kind of just a guessing game at receiver. I will say Albert O played a surprising amount last week and in week 1, and he's also going to play in this one as well. That is strange. Like, I don't see myself playing likely over, or Albert O over likely, but it's just strange that he's playing that amount. And that's kind of because I like Andrew Beck a lot. Just weird. I don't know. There's clearly something that the head coach does not like from Albert O that they want to see on film. So just a strange thing. So let me see if I can kind of finish up a build here that I really like. And we'll be getting out of here. So, it's tough not to trust the Baltimore Ravens quarterbacks. They have looked good and they produce for us. The efficiency, sure. Like, we worry about that a little bit. This is a weird stack. Like, I probably just would go Skylar Thompson, I guess. He looked great so far. We're hoping that the playing time will be there. And, we should get that before lineup lock. Like, 6 p.m. game, do a quick Twitter search before lineup lock, check it out. And that's what I did for the 2 p.m. games. I saw that CJ Beathard wasn't ruled inactive, but it was kind of just the fact that he needed to be there in case the backup quarterback in this situation got injured, EJ Perry. And that's probably going to be the case for the Finns, where I could see maybe Tua plays a series. But Teddy Bridgewater might play series 2. But if they don't, like, Bridgewater could be active just in case Skylar Thompson got injured. I mean, I really like this build. Like, this is a strong, solid starting build. And maybe we just go Ravens for now. That's fine. Decent starting build. We'll see where that ends up. But that's all I have for you guys for this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please give me a like and subscribe. I do appreciate that. Let's have a good main slate preseason DFS slate. Best of luck to you guys, and as always, let's keep cashing.